Hi everybody, my name is Lori and welcome to the Icing Artist. So I got a request for an Elmo cake, so here it is.
So I'm going to start off by making the crayons. I've got all these different beautiful colors of fondant. I'm going to roll them all out into this kind of log or worm shape. And I'm going to cut out different pieces and they're all going to be about 3 inches in length. I'm going to take one of those ends and I'm going to make it nice and pointy like a crayon. You're going to want to let those dry overnight once you've made all your different colors. And once they're dry, you can write on them. I'm just using a black edible marker and I'm doing 2 lines at the top of the crayon, 2 lines at the bottom of the crayon, and then I'm just going to write crayon on them in case they weren't already obvious that they were crayons. And for the cookies, I'm just going to roll out some kind of light brown fondant and cut out circles. And then I'm going to squish them and smush them and shape them into these kind of cookie shapes. I'm just going to take some dark brown fondant or chocolate fondant. I'm going to make these little balls and then squish them into flat discs. And then stick those onto my cookie using some water. And I'm going to let those all dry overnight. Now I'm going to cover my cake before I make my Elmo because the Elmo actually has to go on the cake wet. I'm not going to show fully how to cover this cake in fondant, but I will leave a link in my description how to fully cover a cake in fondant. So now that my cake's covered, I'm going to make my Elmo. I'm going to roll out some red fondant and I've just printed off a Elmo picture from the internet and you can go ahead and do the same. I'm going to place it on top of my red fondant and then cut out Elmo's shape. Once he's all cut out, you can peel off the excess fondant and Elmo. And just make sure all the edges are kind of nice and smooth. I'm gonna just make some fur kind of lines just using my knife. And then I'm going to put Elmo back on just to outline some of the different features of his face and his body. And once those are outlined so I know exactly where they are, I can actually push them down farther with my veining tool. Just to give him some extra dimension and a little bit more fur around his neck. For his mouth, I'm actually going to cut out a half circle and create a little bit more fur there. And then I'm going to cut out a half circle out of black fondant, put a little bit of water on it. I'm going to stick that underneath Elmo's face. And that's going to give him more of that 3D effect. Flip him over and put a little bit of water on him and then place them right on your cake. As you can see, you need to do Elmo the same day as you're doing your cake. So that way he's still wet and he's not hard, because if you try to bend a dried Elmo around the cake, of course it would crack. And I've just rolled out some white fondant and cut out little circles for his eyes. And then little black circles for his pupils. And I'm just going to take a little bit of orange fondant and roll it into kind of an oval shape. I'm going to stick that onto his face just using some water. And that's your Elmo. Now around the cake, I'm going to do some ABCs and 1, 2, 3s just to give a little something extra going around the cake. So I'm going to use the Sesame Street colors, just green and yellow. And I'm using my letter mold and just pushing my fondant into it. And I've also used icing sugar on my mold so that way they don't stick. And I'm just going to alternate in colors. And just wet them with water. And then stick them on my cake. I'm just going to go green, yellow, and do my ABCs and then my 1, 2, 3s going around the cake like this. I really like the ABCs. I thought that it added a nice touch to the cake. And then you can start sticking all your crayons and all your cookies on. And you really just want to scatter them all over the cake, however you see fit. I may have overdone it with the amount of crayons and cookies. You certainly don't have to put this many. But I made them and then I figured, well, I might as well put them on the cake.
I love how colorful this cake is. I think it's so cute. I think that your kids would love it too. And you can always use the concept of just printing out a picture and using that as your guide to make your picture on your cake. And you can do anything that you'd like for your kids and get really creative with it. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you guys don't miss a video.